Cindy, I want you to imagine that you just finished giving an amazing lecture to a group of students, and you came off the stage and you came toward me looking for me to tell you how great you did. And I told you, Cindy, you were actually communicating in the wrong language.
What? I was speaking English. I'm not lecturing in any other language. What do you mean?
Okay, well, I am using the word language a little bit loosely here. Most teachers primarily use the auditory way of communicating to their students, but most students really want kinesthetic, visual, and auditory all woven together.
Yes, yes. And so, as you are preparing to teach, if you can learn to use all three of these learning styles, you can communicate effectively, and your students are going to learn more, they're going to remember more, and they're going to be able to apply more readily, more easily.
Because it really is a terrible feeling if you have put so much effort and energy into preparing your lesson, delivering all this thing, and then nobody really got it or didn't learn it. They might be nodding their heads, but they didn't they didn't take away what you wanted to give to them. And it's also frustrating as a student when you're sitting there and you're trying really hard to connect and you're trying to get it, and but it just keeps going over your head. And that's where learning about these three different learning styles, I think, really can help us and simplify teaching.
As a student, have identified how you like best to learn, and it's tempting to teach that way. We're going to be sharing some simple things you can do with all three learning styles to incorporate when you teach. Let's start with the default auditory. That's listening and talking. So when we think of traditional lecture, that's what we think. Somebody stands at the front, talks, shares the information, students listen. It's actually the least effective learning style, and the fewest number of people in the world identify as this is their best way of learning.
There definitely are people who learn so well through listening. My husband is one of them. He would never choose to read a book, but he's always listening to a podcast. He's a great conversationalist who learns so much as he talks with people. So people definitely do learn from hearing. We all do take in something from sound, but it's not always the most accessible way to really grab a hold of things.
An auditory learner is learning while they're talking and listening not just to the teacher, they learn a lot from their peers.
Something else can be using other types of sound. So literally
Mm.
music, even some type of sound effects, think about the sound of water flowing in a stream. If you put that on instantly, it impacts your mood and it could really pair with whatever it is you're talking about or trying to present.
I just finished teaching on a Bible course and doing an Old Testament book, and we did a good bit of reading out loud. For some of these readings, I decided to put like music, soundtracks behind it. So we're reading about a righteous king, and we've got this righteous, glorious, heroic music playing, and it added so much more.
You could be reading excerpts from storybooks or picture books. You could do dramatic reading, storytelling. So it's not just reading through your bullet points that you can use to reach an auditory learner.
So more than just the teacher talking.
Yeah,
Auditory
absolutely.
learners will be very happy for more of these things. Research shows that this is the biggest group now, visual learners. When Sesame Street came on television and television became a medium of learning and teaching, it went up. And then, oh my gosh, our phones, right? So this has totally impacted the brains of
Mhm.
several generations now. So learning through pictures, really, really important.
Yeah, so this is a pretty easy one to incorporate into the classroom if you have some type of whiteboard or projector. You don't have to write every single thing down, but you could write headings, you can write key points, you could write Bible references. They might say the name or say the Bible verse, but I still like to see it written down. Somehow it just helps me understand it and remember it better.
Yeah, I love that you talk about a whiteboard and not just a PowerPoint. Research shows that when people watch somebody writing on a whiteboard, their brains are far more engaged than just looking at a PowerPoint slide. And if you're drawing on a whiteboard, it engages people. I always show up with my own because I want whiteboard markers that work. I try to use lots of colors as I'm writing on the whiteboard.
One of the first things I'll do if we're going to study a Bible passage is I'll hand out a copy so everybody has it. So maybe we'll read it out loud together, but we're looking at it also for the visual learners. And then I'll get them to underline or color or highlight or even draw little squiggles or little illustrations on in the margins as we're going, something to just help them connect all the bits and pieces together. And I think you can always tell who some of the visual learners are by looking who's got a huge pencil case full of like 25 different colored pens or markers, clue that that person might be more on the visual learning.
That's talking about writing. You know, another way that our brains can process a lot of information quickly is through charts, infographics, timelines, or
Part of what you're doing as a teacher is presenting information. But another part of the learning process is letting the students have the chance to wrestle with the topic and the information and process it and go deeper. So one of my favorite activities currently is to ask the students to create a pie chart on whatever the topic would be. And so here are a few funny pie charts that you can laugh at because they're yeah, to get your ideas flowing. And then I will give them some paper and some different color pens and say, I want you to draw a pie chart that would represent who is responsible for the growth and formation in your own life. And we'll start talking about, is it God? Is it yourself? Is it your church? Is it your friends? Who is it? And then as they start coloring and drawing, they've really got to think through in a very concrete way and a visual way, something that can be very abstract. And then they have a chance to show it to their neighbor and they get to learn and they go, oh, yeah, I got to put that and change mine a little bit. So something visual and creative really helps the learning go deeper.
something I've been doing is I got a bunch of Polaroids. These are just literally pictures. And I bring these and I'll have a bunch of them spread out and I'll ask a question, like, where are you in your relationship with God right now? Or that as you think of the future, which picture stands out? And this has been a beautiful way generating discussion, helping people summarize, like, what did this week mean to you? It's been an easy way for people to think deeply.
Yeah, what's the saying? A picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you can bring an image, a picture, one of the things I love is I have this piece of fabric that is a patchwork quilt. So if I'm doing a teaching about the body of Christ and our uniqueness and how we're all different and distinct from one another, I might put this over top of the podium or the table at the front of the classroom. And so as I'm talking, everybody's looking at it. They're absorbing it. Some of them don't even pay attention, but some of them are really finding it very interesting, the differences, and they're drawn to some. And then at the end of the session, I might ask them to identify, come up front, and which piece of that fabric present them if they had to pick one, which is their favorite and why. They get to talk a little bit about it. And it draws together this whole theme of we are separate but united. And it's just, I found it a very powerful bit of visual imagery.
Most people are visual learners and or they're used to getting their information visually. So
Mhm.
much better than just standing at the front and talking.
So one another one I love is a candle, and this is a great um, thing that can represent so much. You can represent the Holy Spirit, hope, direction for the future. So you light a candle, you can't really see that. You light a candle, you just have it burning, and be a focal point for the class. I love to just look at what's around me and I just like gather little bits from wherever I'm teaching and try to put them all back where I came from. But um, I found this plant in my living room earlier today. It really needs to be watered, but I thought before watering it, this would be a perfect kind of prop to use in a class talking about what we need to grow and the importance of caring for ourselves. And it can stir up compassion. Simply having an object, a cross or a framed picture, just these are very simple things as a teacher that you can bring with you into the classroom. You can display. You don't even have to explain them very much or for long. And they're preaching their own message while you while you offer your lesson.
If you've got a projector, is that we can show videos. And I have a funny video that talks about Moses and the Exodus that I will show when I'm doing some teaching on the history of Israel, and we all get a big laugh out of it. But in 3 minutes, it encapsulates so much history that I need students to know.
Videos, memes, images, photos, they don't have to be funny. They're not just only for a laugh. There's a time-lapse video that I found of a sunflower growing over the course of a few months. This is a little seed and a tiny little sprout, and it's growing, it's growing, it's growing. It's all flowers and suns. It looks beautiful. And then the video doesn't stop, it keeps going. And then the thing dies and it gets all dry and it falls. Such a powerful, in 2 or 3 minutes, the growth process of seasons of life, of death,
Mm,
grief, loss. So many things accessible online now that you can use. Bible project videos, a
yes.
little snippet, an excerpt from something that can be such a powerful way to appeal to the visual and the auditory learners and the storytelling aspects of education.
This isn't your go-to mode of learning. It takes a bit of intentionality to think about, is there an object I want to bring? Do I need to find me some Polaroid things? Search for a good video, but it will pay off. All right, let's talk about the last one, kinesthetic. It's a very fancy word, and indicates movement, like you're moving, you're using your body in some way. Even in a traditional classroom, there are simple things you can do that are going to help this person who learns with movement.
One of the easiest things you can do is to use the seats and the seating arrangement in a strategic way. So that could be get up and find a different buddy when you do a processing break.
Sometimes standing up, going to another room, discussing coming back, that's enough movement for them to reset and go, okay, I can sit still for another 20 minutes and absorb what's going on. So
Yeah, one of the reasons I love having little objects, whether it's a cross or a photo, is I can either hand it around the class and everybody takes a few moments to feel it and touch it, or sometimes I'll just say, okay, come up and look at this image. So everyone has to get out of their seat and come forward and take a look. And I don't see it as a waste of time whatsoever. I think it's actually an opportunity for the students to kind of have a breather, move their bodies, get the blood flowing. Going for walks are great. I think there's 1,000 ways you can use walks as part of the class that's not just giving you a break or a waste of time. Some type of focused walk, so where it's a silent walk, maybe for 10 minutes, but it's a time to revisit a certain memory and experience something that you had with God, or to just start thinking about something that you're upset about or something that's bothering you, stress. It's bringing clarity to something. So you come back in the classroom that are able to engage. Going for walks, fantastic for a lot of reasons. Okay, another activity that I've been using a lot, and I think for kinesthetic learners and everybody, it's really helpful. So we'll ask a type of question. For example, how ready are you to go home after this week is over? We'll make a line on the floor of the classroom, either with a piece of tape or just an imaginary line. And this side of the room will be, I'm absolutely ready. And this side of the line will be, I'm not ready at all. And then we invite the students to place themselves along the line. So it can be done, usually I ask them to do it in silence. And then we'll ask another question, how happy are you about what's happening in class today or whatever the topic is. And they move around. And then usually I invite them to stand where they are and notice the other people in the classroom. And then maybe we'll ask for some feedback and different ones will get to share. And so it's a way to deepen the understanding. You're moving your body and you haven't asked yourself, am I ready? Am I not ready? And so it's really inviting you to go deeper with the learning.
something that I'm doing a lot is read through a lot of Bible passages when I teach. I will have people get up and act it out. And
Mm.
I try to make it really simple about Adam and Eve in the garden and eating the forbidden fruit. And so I'll be taking volunteers. And I know it's hard at the beginning. They're like, who is this teacher? We don't know her, but somebody to be the tree and somebody to be Adam and Eve. And I need a serpent. And so we're reading the story and they're kind of acting it out. A lot of laughs, right? So it's because it's fun, but it's kind of embarrassing. But for the people who like to move, help lock in that learning of like what was going on in the garden. What were those big issues? And so I'll do that several times throughout the week, mostly because I like doing it, but it is a
Mhm.
way to get people active, moving, and it's going to engage them in learning.
I think there's so many simple things that you can do. Like, again, using the body of the class, going too fast or too slow. Are they understanding? Is it ready for a break? We'll either do thumbs up or thumbs down or thumbs in the middle. Do a thing of on a scale of 1 to 5. Are you like ready for a break or you want to keep going? Or like there's a lot of different ways you can get people to use their bodies, which is serving more than one purpose. You're getting the information, but it's also helping them to stay engaged.
So good. And you bring up break. I have been in places where I've had a school leader say, well, we take our break here, but it can only be 5 minutes if you need to teach. And I'm like, no, one, I need a break. Like, I need to go get something to eat, drink, and use the bathroom as the teacher. I know for the kinesthetic learners, a 15, 20, oh gosh, if there's a 30-minute break, that's a lot of time, but it really helps them reset. And there's a good chance that they're having some discussions about, well, what do you think about that? Blah, blah, blah. Or that reminded me of this. So, them to get up and move and then come back is actually going to help them remember what you teach. So, never cut the break.
Mhm.
Never think my information is so important. We're going to skip break. They will not be paying attention to your beautiful information. So, there they are, those three major learning styles: auditory, listening, talking; visual, seeing things, getting information through seeing; and then kinesthetic, doing, moving your body, helping you understand and learn.
If you are, as in this illustration, Cindy, a person who's only using the auditory and you're wanting to branch out, it can feel a bit scary or intimidating. Offering something that's slightly unique, that's variety, something different and a novelty, that can be memorable and really helpful. It doesn't have to be a 7-part thing that's going to take you 5 hours to figure out. You don't have to go buy a bunch of supplies, but doing something a little bit different and out of the ordinary will absolutely be memorable. Well, chances are they'll talk about that first and then hopefully the content later on.
You can incorporate these things. It's important to incorporate all of these learning styles in what you're doing. Well, we have three questions that we'd like to leave you with. And the first one is, how are you doing as a teacher using these three different learning styles in your teaching?
Yeah. Second question, of the three styles, auditory, visual, and kinesthetic, which one do you spend the most time on? And which one do you spend the least time on?
And the third question, from what we've talked about today, what is one thing that you could add to an upcoming teaching that you're going to be doing?